When you do your harmonization, you tell the app basically three things. You tell it what key signature you're in. For example, we're in a key of D flat. You tell it what bass note that you want. We can tell it that we want here all bass notes. And you tell it what melody note that you want. Say in this case we want the melody note to be A flat. And then you just ask it what the chords are. Now the chords that you get back are dependent on what chord group you have selected. If we come over here, there are various chord groups. If you don't choose any chord group, then all the chord groups are chosen. So we can say, you know, we want our chord selection to be from basic chords. And if we do that, those are very simple chords. So if we look at the chord possibilities for A flat, we have those very basic chords. And we can go back and we can say, we want to choose from the group preaching chords. Those are kind of gospel-y chords. We get a different result of chords that have that A flat on top. And we can come back here to chord groups and we can turn on multiple chord groups. We can turn on basic chords, and we have this other chord group here called Trina Washington, which is kind of modeled after a gospel organist, Trina Washington. If we choose that, the chords we get back are kind of modeled after chords that she plays. And the other thing you need to know that if you highlight a chord, you just touch it, you'll get sound. Touch it again, the sound will go away. And if the chord is not in the octave that you like, you can hit the plus and the minus, and you can move the chord up or down and get it right where you want. Once you get a chord that you like, there's a process called tagging the chord, where you'll put it aside and you can play it later and rearrange it so you can kind of harmonize the complete song. So if we like this chord here, this A flat minor 7, we can take that chord and tag it simply by holding it down, and it will become tagged. And we switch view over to the list of tagged chords, and that will be the only chord that we have tagged. This is the first time we're tagging. So just hold it down and it becomes tagged. So you can kind of like harmonize all of your melody notes and tag them all, and then when you're done, you just play through your list of tagged chords and you have your completed harmonization. Let's go back and tag another one. Now let's say that we want the melody note to be B flat. There's some more chords. Let's tag this one. Just hold it down and it becomes tagged. Now we see both chords. Now we can play both of these. So that's the process of tagging the chords. After we have our chords tagged, we can further rearrange them if we don't like the order that we've tagged them in. Just hit edit and you'll see a little kind of highlight over here. You can just take it and drag it and rearrange the chords, hit done, and you're done. And if you want to delete any chord that you see from your tag chord list or your matching chord list, just swipe across and you'll see a delete, and you can hit delete and the chord will be gone. So right now we're looking at the list of tag chords. We can go back to the matching chord list. So the idea is to pick all of your matching chords for all of your melody notes, tag them all, and then when you're done, play back the song that you've created. And after you've tagged all the chords, you can save them to a sequence, so you can load them up later. And if you are not happy with your tag sequence, you can hit clear and just start over. So after you've tagged a chord sequence, that's essentially a song that you've created. It will become one of your saved chord sequences, and it will appear in the list here under where you can load a different sequence that you've created before. The ones here I have are basically empty, but if you created a sequence of tag chords, you could save it under a name and you would see it here, so that when you came back later, you could load that sequence up again, and that sequence that you've loaded up becomes your group of tag chords that you can work with again and rearrange it and get it just how you like it. Another option you need to know about is the Midi organ legato. If you have an organ voice, make sure you have that on. That gives you a smooth transition between chords, so that if you're moving from one chord to another, you don't restrike all the notes. You keep the notes held down that are common between the two chords, and you get a smoother sound. If you turn that off, then all the notes are restruck again, and you might want to do that if the voicing that you have is a piano voice. If you have a piano voice, you'd want all of the notes to be restructured again between the chords, or else you wouldn't hear them all, because you play a piano differently than you play an organ. Another thing you need to be aware of is your MIDI octave transposition. Depending on what voicing you've chosen on your instrument, and you may be playing a chord and it may be too low on your instrument. You may need to shift all of the notes up to a different octave. Here we're in octave number 5. We're going to move up to octave number 6. That moves all the chords over all of the chord groups up an octave. Okay, so depending on what voicing that you've chosen on your instrument, you may need to shift, the voice up or down to get a sound. The other option here is keyboard or guitar. Right now, just keyboard works. What we're going to be working on in the future is we're going to be able to use this app for guitar, so that instead of seeing piano keys, you see guitar tabs, and you'll be able to use the same methodology and system for harmonization on a guitar. Another thing that you can do after you've created your sequence, you can shift the whole sequence to another key. Right now we're in the key of D flat. We can shift it down to the key of C. Just that easy. You can shift it to any key you want.